The story begins in the cold, lonely parts of the Arctic Ocean. Julia and Oscar are busy putting sonar tools deep into the water for their work. Suddenly, the quiet area is interrupted by an urgent emergency call. A huge storm is moving toward them. Oscar is told to pack his things and leave as fast as possible. Far away, a Russian submarine hears a scary, loud noise coming from the deep water. The crew is shocked to see the sea level rising in a strange way. Back at the camp, Julia's machines begin showing impossible data. The thick ice under them starts to crack and break. Oscar runs to Julia and yells that they have no more time. Julia waits for a second because she wants to save her research. The weather gets very bad as she finally hops onto Oscar's snowmobile. They drive away fast, but the ice breaks apart quicker than they can move. Deep under the waves, the submarine crew finds out something frightening. The noises they hear are not from the water itself. They are from a living thing. A giant creature is moving through the dark. Before they can do anything, a huge force hits the side of the ship. Emergency alarms ring out as the submarine tilts to the side. The crew feels like a giant hand has grabbed the ship. It is being pulled down into the deep water very fast. Above ground, Julia and Oscar are running for their lives. The ground is disappearing right behind their wheels. Suddenly, a big blizzard starts and makes it hard to see. Oscar gets scared and loses his balance on the slippery ice. His snowmobile hits a sharp ice cliff and bursts into flames. When they wake up later, the storm has destroyed their camp. The nightmare goes on in the freezing water below. The giant creature keeps hitting the Russian submarine. To stay alive, the crew starts shooting their guns into the dark. In the flashes of light, they see something that shouldn't be real. Huge tentacles are wrapping around the metal ship. The creature hits again and totally destroys the big vessel. Just before they sink, the captain sends out one last emergency signal. He hopes the Navy can locate them in this cold place. The next day, Russian Marine headquarters gets the weak signal. They are surprised to find out their high-tech submarine is gone. The ship was carrying very powerful weapons that they cannot lose. They call for a rescue mission and put a man named Victor in charge. This mission means a lot to Victor. His own brother was the captain of the lost ship. When Victor's mother hears what happened, she is very worried. She gives Victor his father's old watch for good luck. Victor takes the watch and leaves for the mission right away. He meets Admiral Olshinsky, a grumpy man who was a friend of his father. The admiral was told by headquarters to watch over the mission. When Victor gets on the submarine, the crew is unhappy. They complain because their vacations were ruined for this job. Victor stays quiet and stays focused on his work. Somewhere else, Julia and Oscar are walking through the blizzard. They feel like there is no hope without food or a place to stay. Their satellite phone has no signal in the white snow. Julia does not want to quit and keeps looking for a signal. She almost falls into a deep hole in the ice. Oscar catches her just in time to save her. Suddenly, the phone gets a weak signal for a moment. Julia quickly calls an oil rig company to ask for help. The storm is so loud that the person on the other end cannot hear her. The signal goes away and the call drops. In one last try, Oscar fires a flare gun. The red light shines off something on the ice nearby. They run toward it and find a beacon. It is the emergency signal from the lost submarine. Julia knows the Russian Navy will come to find it. She tells Oscar they have to wait right there. Victor's submarine finally gets to the signal after traveling for hours. They do not see a ship, but they find the two freezing scientists. Julia and Oscar are saved and brought onto the warm submarine. Victor has a secret reason for letting them on the ship. He wants to know exactly what happened to his brother. When he asks Julia, she does not have a clear answer. She tells Victor she thought it was an earthquake at first. However, her tools never showed any ground movement at all. Julia is now sure that a giant sea monster did it. When he hears this, Victor remembers something odd from the day before. Their radar had found a large group of whales. The whales were hitting the submarine as if they were trying to stop it. Admiral Olshinsky ordered a loud noise pulse to scare the whales away. Victor tried to stop him to keep the animals safe. The admiral ignored him and turned the loud signal on. The whales swam away but then came back almost immediately. Suddenly, a new signal came from the deep ocean. The whales swam away in fear as something came up. A giant creature ate a whale in one bite. It then started moving toward Victor's submarine very fast. The admiral ordered an attack, but Victor stepped in. He told them not to shoot and to hide instead. He drove the submarine into a narrow crack in the ice. The giant monster was too big to get inside. It swam around for a bit and then finally left. Victor's choice saved everyone on the ship. After hearing Julia's story, Victor knows the truth. This is the monster that broke his brother's submarine. Julia grew up hearing stories about sea monsters in Sweden. She is very scared and does not want to fight. She asks Victor to leave them at the oil rig. She thinks the metal building will keep them safe. Victor sees the rig is close and changes his path. As they move, the strange signal shows up on the screen. The creature is moving quietly under the muddy seafloor. They get to the rig and get ready to talk to the crew. Suddenly, the water begins to bubble and move wildly. Huge tentacles jump out of the waves and grab the rig. The strong metal building is crushed in a second. Victor looks through a telescope and sees the monster's face. It is a giant octopus of a legendary size. The crew is too shocked to move. Before they can do anything, the rig sinks into the ocean. Victor's team has no choice but to run away. The octopus finishes destroying the rig and goes after the submarine. An angry Admiral Olshansky takes control and fires 2 torpedoes. The weapons hit, but the monster is still alive. The attack only makes the creature even more mad. It runs at the submarine with great speed and power. The Admiral gets scared and gives control back to Victor. Victor quickly orders a sharp turn to the side. They miss a direct hit, but a tentacle strikes the ship. The hit breaks the submarine and it begins to sink. The octopus attacks again and starts a big fire. 7 men are stuck in the smoke of the weapon room. The monster wraps its body around the whole ship. Victor tells the crew to stay very quiet. He knows deep-sea hunters like loud noises. He even tells the men to stop fighting the fire. Poisonous air begins to fill the trapped room. The crew waits in total silence in the dark. The Kraken hears nothing and finally decides to swim away. Once it is gone, they save the hurt men. Julia and Oscar help Victor and the crew starts to trust them. Julia tells Victor that her sonar tools woke up the Kraken. She says the creature is now hunting them for revenge. To stay alive, they have to keep the sonar turned off. She explains that octopuses pull their food into deep caves. This means Victor's brother might be near the old camp. While they talk, an officer finds a strange sound. It is a signal coming from the camp's location. Victor tells his crew they are going into the monster's home. Some men do not agree and say it is too dangerous. They think their weapons won't work against the octopus. As the captain, Victor says he has to save his brother. The crew follows him into the dark trench. They use a small mini-submarine to go even deeper. They find hundreds of sunken ships in the deep water. Julia's stories about the Kraken's graveyard were all true. Finally, they see the broken pieces of the missing submarine. The front part is still in one piece and has air inside. Victor connects his mini-sub and goes inside the broken ship. He finds Alexander and his crew still alive. Victor is very happy to see his brother. Staying alive in this cave for so long is a miracle. Alexander says they stayed alive by being perfectly quiet. Since there is not much space, Victor plans 2 rescue trips. He sends the first group up while he stays behind. Suddenly, the giant Kraken wakes up. Victor and Alexander hurry to turn on the special missiles. They work fast as the monster gets closer. They finally get the missile system turned on. Just then, a tracker on the mini-sub starts making a beeping sound. The noise brings the Kraken right to them. The main submarine swims toward the surface to survive. Victor and Alexander stay to finish the job. The Kraken's tentacles start to crush the small submarine. The brothers say sorry to each other for past mistakes. They realize this might be the end for them, but they refuse to quit without a fight. They wait until the monster is right on top of them. Together, they flip the switch and cause an explosion. The Kraken is caught in a huge ball of fire. A light shines through the ice. The submarine starts sinking and filling with cold water. The brothers run toward the escape pod during the mess. A big wave of water knocks them both down. Victor grabs Alexander's hand and pulls him inside. However, the pod is stuck to the sinking ship. The missiles are set to explode in just seconds. Victor finds the emergency handle and pulls as hard as he can. The pod breaks off just before the final blast. On the surface, the Admiral and the crew are waiting. They lose hope as the time passes. Just as they start to leave, the pod pops out of the water. Victor and Alexander are safe and breathing fresh air. The crew yells with joy as the brothers meet again. Victor tries to give the watch back, but Alexander tells him to keep it. They go back to Russia as heroes and see their family. The hard mission was a complete success. In the face of great danger, family is the only thing that keeps you steady. If you liked this story, please like the video and leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more great movie adventures.